Welcome and thank you for joining me. I'm tannamarshall, Women's Empowerment Coach and founder of Infinite Women. I'm back with a new interview with another inspiring woman. Today, I'm talking to Jessica Hritz Morrick, professional organizing and mindset coach, women's heartfelt empowerment coach, and happiness trainer. If you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or in despair when you think about decluttering or accomplishing other projects in your life, or you find it difficult to give away items that you don't like out of a sense of guilt or obligation, then you want to watch this interview. For over 20 years, Jessica has helped hundreds of women as a professional organizing and women's empowerment coach, working with clients one-on-one and as a motivational speaker. Jessica has a passion for helping women become unstuck and break through whatever is holding them back in their lives. To help her clients move forward, she developed organizing solutions that led them to clarity of space and mind. Jessica is known as the intentional organizer for her unique use of mindset tools and powerful tips in her highly intuitive sessions with clients. Welcome, Jessica. I'm excited to talk to you about all of this.
Hi, Tana. I am so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me here with
My pleasure. I love this topic because I grew up with a mother who was a Depression era pack rat. So I can't stand clutter. And I love people like you who help people declutter, because I'm sure you've dealt with people like that just don't want to let go of their stuff. So let me ask you first, how did you become a professional organizer and shape it into the unique service you provide now?
Well, it's an interesting story, and it plays in very well with the fact that you've written 2 books on this subject. I was lost at one point in my life. It was really just over 23 years ago. I had left a job that was seemingly wonderful, and people thought, are you crazy? But it was truly sort of a toxic experience for me. And while sitting there for 6 weeks, brainstorming, and I had never been able to figure out what I wanted to do for myself, a 3-part incident, all to do with, and I won't go into all 3, all to do with manifestation came to me. I was led to a book in Starbucks when I was only heading to the coffee. I went on a job interview I didn't want. It was boring sounding. And the man in the gray suit said to me, do you ever think sometimes a person's put in your life to help you find the divine plan? And then the third, and they all were saying about this divine plan of life. Sitting on my couch, a book I hadn't touched in 6 months was next to me. And I didn't know how, to this day, how it got there. I opened it and I pointed at a page, and it was about finding the divine plan of your life. So I said the affirmation, and 4 days later, because I was already into this sort of thing, 4 days later, I had what I call a download. And after years of not being able to come up with what I wanted to do, just working on my own, it came to me. So that's the first wonderful part of the story. But how I shaped it, it's been a gradual experience. But here's something I noticed almost right away. In working with women, I began to see a pattern, not in everybody, I'll give that disclaimer, of course, but in a lot of people, there was a feeling of despair and maybe a trauma. It traumatized them not to be able to touch or even look at this stuff. And if they had to look at it, it was because it was all over and it was very distressing. But it keyed into something that had happened to me in my life. So I was very acutely aware of feelings of despair, because when I was, here's a brief moment of my story and how come I connected so deeply with these women. Of all of the women, of course, I connected with them too. But when I was 7 years old, I began to feel despair. And it happened immediately. Of course, I wasn't so clear on it then, when I got sexually abused. And my life changed. It wasn't innocent, fun, and playful anymore. It was knowing things I felt I shouldn't know, and shame and guilt, and 7 years old. So at that same time, a thought that stayed with me for 20 years came to me. And that was, well, if it ever gets too bad, you know what you can do. And that was to go and do the seemingly awful, and end it. And so as a 7-year-old, through when I was 26 or 7, and I've had a healing journey, I've had solutions. I've used things that I teach to women to heal myself gradually from thinking that as my primary thought or even at all, and live a happy life today without it being based on just outside circumstances. And so the despair that I see and have helped women with really connects to my personal story. And I have things built into my systems that I can tell you more about, that will address those sort of feelings of hopelessness and despair, the clutter, and not being able to move forward in our lives with projects too, can cause in a lot of people.
Wow. Okay. You just went somewhere that I never expected, but I think it's so prevalent because
Yeah,
this clutter thing could be the result of some kind of trauma like that. And there are
yeah.
so many women who've been through it. Hello. Um, to varying degrees. That's
Oh,
that's a really interesting take on it. And I'm glad you brought that up.
yeah.
I think so many women are going to be like, oh my God, I never related my clutter to the trauma I went through. So that's fascinating. And that is so helpful. I mean, I'm sorry that happened to you, but like so many women, you've taken your experience and turned it into something positive for yourself and then benefiting other people as well. So let
Yeah.
me ask you, I've heard you mention that you found there are 3 types of people when it comes to organizing. Tell us more about that.
Yes, it's another one of these downloads that I stumbled across having worked with for so long with women, clients one-on-one. And here is type number 3. You love organizing, and there really isn't anything to declutter. It is a hobby to you. And you were born this way. It's fun to you. You post on social media, lovely pictures, and hang out with others who do love organizing too. And I want to congratulate you. And you guys haven't normally been my client. Type number 2. And type number 2 feels despairing or overwhelmed. Maybe not despair, not as bad as despairing, but overwhelmed, stuck, really doesn't know where to start, what to do. Books haven't helped. You buy them, you've read them, you buy them or you don't read them, they're on your shelf. But if you have, they haven't helped you yet, and you just need guidance. And once somebody gives you a certain amount of guidance, you either have a few coaching sessions or you read, you try my system, which is filling in all the gaps. I call it a full circle approach I've developed because I would find that the reason people fell off the organizing trail or were unable to start were that there were these gaps. If you picture like a circle and some divided up into some pie shapes, and there were these missing pieces. And just like in a jigsaw puzzle, you're not going to finish it if you don't know what those are and you don't have them. So once my type number 2 people get what they need, they're off to the races. They have a new understanding. They have some great tools that fill the gaps, and maybe they can go it alone. Type number 3, and these are the people that generally do feel despair. It's too overwhelming and too much negative self-talk to even talk about it. It's very upsetting. Life is ground to a halt and is always going to be tomorrow when you finish or get somehow organized before you begin what you really want to do, either with your life or if you're successful in your career and in your life, but you know what's going on at home, or people can see what's going on in your office or closets or the room nobody goes in where everything is thrown. It's a very upsetting, halting experience. And most people in type 3, you may have given up, don't feel there is any solution for you. But what's so tragic about it activates even further some of our negative beliefs about ourselves, our negative self-talk. And maybe everybody has some of that, right? But, we've lived with it, we've moved forward. But for my type 3 people, there is no moving forward. It's just a really sad, lots of negative thoughts going through the mind every day, all the time. And of course, no movement forward with getting out of being cluttered.
Yeah. And this reminds me of watching Hoarders. I have a friend who's addicted to Hoarders, but I know there's such a huge emotional component to that. They feel they need that stuff for their safety. My mom's favorite phrase, she wasn't a hoarder. I mean, she would have been if I was here to prevent it. But she loved to say, we might need that one day. We might need that one day. And it's funny that you mentioned that the room that they shove everything into. We have a room that my parents called the go to hell room, and they just shoved everything in it to the point where you couldn't even walk in it. And when I moved home, when my dad asked me to move in to help her after he died, I was like, I need to clear this room out a little bit. And eventually she let me clear it out, and it became my office. So that's interesting. So when it comes to that third type, where the emotions are so prevalent in the clutter, share with us how those emotions can play into our ability to declutter or not.
I have worked in the past with hoarders, though I've not for many years. I feel they do need some extra help. And there is such a big emotional component. So I would never dream of changing up somebody's house, because it's been known to cause, like an emotional breakdown type of situation.
Disclaimer. We're not talking about the hoarders here. We're talking about normal decluttering.
Yes, the emotional component and how it can stop us. Well, here's one of them, and it will actually lead into a tip in being able to help you or anyone who relates to this, maybe get out of this little place you're in. So if you've got clutter, and let's say it's on your desk, or you're sitting anywhere in your kitchen and it's all over the counters, or however it plays out, because it can play out differently for everyone, there's something I refer to as decision avoidance. And when I went to the dictionary, it is really there, but it is something that happens. Somebody gets a new moment of motivation. They say, I'm going to organize the desk. And they pick up something, and it's been there maybe a few days, maybe months, maybe years. And then they look at it, and it triggers them emotionally into, oh my gosh, I'm such a mess. They're right. I am a loser. Things that were said to us, not just done. And it brings up all that negative stuff. And before the person knows it, I have no space. I have no time. They put it back down. And then that moment is lost, and the clutter continues. So my tool to help with this, and this is one of the gap fillers, is you're holding the item, the piece of paper, and you catch it, because you've heard us talk about this now. You go, oh my gosh, that's that thing. That's that thing I do. I'm about to not move on and make a decision. So instead, you ask yourself, contrary to the things that you just said about not having time or space, you ask yourself, what is this? I found this to be very powerful. You'd be hard pressed to not know what an item is. Well, this is a document from my dad's medical report. This is an insurance document. This is a bottle of nail polish, right? These are obvious things, but in that moment we feel stuck. So we don't want to think about that. Once you ask, what is this? Your brain is now in a mode of wanting to help you. Oh, well, of course I know what this is. And once you've decided what it is, it doesn't get set back down, and you don't give up and trigger the negative beliefs or the negative words that you have in the mind. Instead, you're now in a positive sense. Okay, so I know what it is. What am I going to do? Where does this belong? And most people will say next, well, I have no room. I don't know. That's the whole point. Well, what you really know is if it is a bottle, if you have 5 bottles of hand cream on your desk, I've used this before, they don't all belong there. Let's keep one. You can keep it in the drawer or on your desk, but the rest belong in a bathroom somewhere with your supplies. So what happens is at the end of your session, I would instruct everyone to do a 20 to 30 minute it's called distribution time, right? You've gathered up things that don't belong there, and you're going to go run around the house or apartment and put them where they belong. But if you do not do this next little mini step, you may forget, get frustrated, and stop the session with yourself. And I would find things in the years when I worked in people's homes. I would find the pile that they were to distribute. Oh, I'll do that after you leave. on the floor and I'd recognize it. So what I devised to fill in another gap is you take your Post-its and your Sharpie and you identify what you just decided. Where's that spot it lives? Okay, upstairs master bathroom. And you don't just put a Sharpie Post-it and expect it to stick. You put Scotch tape. Sorry if it's dusty. And you tape it to any 3D items. If it's a piece of paper, you actually just use your Post-it note, but you still mark it the way you're going to file it in your cabinet so that when distribution time comes around and I have people schedule, okay, into their calendar, here's the date, but the last 20 or 30 is a separate appointment. It's distribution. Okay, so you don't run out of time and just leave it, never to be touched again. I have a whole system, a whole bunch of these gap fillers, but the emotions come into it so easily, and then they sort of dovetail into thoughts we've held previously about clutter or lack thereof, or your abilities. And then it goes into what you've been told about the self. You know, it happens to a lot of people, not everyone. And to help alter these emotions that get so easily triggered, Tana, when it comes to decluttering, if you are a type 3 or even a type 2 person, there are so many other tips and tools I have as part of the whole full circle approach. But one of them, and this ties into what you've written about in your books, is setting an intention. And set that intention right after you've scheduled it in your day planner, in your calendar. If you don't have a calendar, because life is up to you every day, get a calendar. Start using either a wall calendar, one that comes with your phone or computer, to just schedule out 2 to 3 weeks of organizing and make decisions when they're going to be. And set the intention of how it's going to be. And I have these wonderful sheets. It's called Getting and Staying in the Right Mindset, Intentions for Organizing. And the other one is called Intentions for Making Decisions with Ease. And so you set one of these affirmations, and I can give you a couple if you want to hear them.
Hold on. I just have to say really quick that, first of all, I love this plan that you've created, because it's almost like a 12-step program, like one step at a time, like one thing at a time, one day at a time. Yes. I love that, because that makes it much more manageable. Yes. And I love that you're incorporating energy components, intentions, affirmations, law of attraction, because I love that. That's what my business is based on too. So it's such a unique approach to what you're doing. So I mean, I know you have a lot of tools, so I know this is what you're about to share with us. So go ahead. The tools that you use to help women have breakthroughs and get decluttered. Go. Yes. I love it. Thank you for acknowledging that. I love that, the 12-step program of organizing. It feels that way. Okay, so here's one. My organizing session flows with ease and grace. I accomplish much more than I expected. So you say that, and if you feel compelled, say it several times so we can imprint the subconscious mind, and it starts to feel good, because most people, if they've been dreading organizing for years, they groan at the beginning of a session. It's like, oh no, help me. I hate doing this. Now, how does that feel? That feels negative, pulling you downward, as opposed to this, which feels a lot lighter. And there's a whole bunch of them here. I'd be happy if someone just wants to email me directly. I'd give this out. Sometimes it's for sale on my website, but not right now. So just email me. I'd give it to whoever wants it. And I begin to declutter one item at a time, and it flows with ease and grace. Okay, those are some. But then with this decision avoidance, I felt like we needed to do some intention setting for that too, because it's a long-term habit. And so I came up with a few for that. And it gives a little bit of instruction on these sheets also. And here's one. I love this one. I have plenty of focus. I make decisions with clarity and ease. Okay, so use them over and over, hit rewind and write it down, and then replay, because these will start to alter the way we feel when we start to say different things to ourselves. And I know Tana knows
a lot about this and has written about it in 2 books. But so that's one of my tips that will fill in the gap, because we can't have willpower here. And yeah, you're right. It is a little like a 12-step program, because willpower doesn't fix it for people who have a serious problem with either a substance or a way of thinking or something else they're avoiding. So if willpower could have fixed it, if the books and workshops could have fixed it, we'd be perfect organizers right now. One thing to note in my intentions, and if you're making one up for yourself, it's always about I am, and or I achieve, or I, it starts with, with an I situation. I have plenty of, what does that say? I took off my glasses. I have plenty of focus, right? Well, but it also doesn't involve the word decluttering. And if you're somebody who has a version of my earlier document out there and it says the word decluttering, I realized at one point in time, wait a minute, decluttering isn't the positive of where I want to go. Decluttering is referring to clutter. So I use the word organizing when it comes to dispensing of your clutter. Okay. So we want to keep it 100% positive.
So I just have to say that I love the aspect of including those powerful I am, I have statements. And I don't know how many organizers do that kind of work along with the organizing. I think you're the first one that I've heard of that's incorporating these mindset tools that are incredibly helpful and powerful. And this is probably for some people that have never gotten into this stuff and maybe don't know about it. So you're helping them way beyond organizing. And I love that you focus on organizing instead of the clutter, focus on what feels better and the positive. So this is really an incredible service that you're providing, and I love it. So I wanted to ask you, do you have a favorite client success story?
Yes, I do, actually. And it's funny because it wasn't someone living in complete disarray. She felt very, very organized in a lot of ways. Well, one time she let me know, it was quite a ways into it, that every single time she sat down to do paperwork and to do one of our sessions, we finished the session and she always had terrible, terrible backache. And I said, oh my gosh, I had no idea you really disliked this so much. I go, well, and out of the blue, because I would introduce the intention setting where I felt people were receptive to it, and I hadn't weighed either way with her. And I just said, well, why don't we intend that this session flows with ease and grace, and time flies, we have a great time, and when we're finished, we cannot believe how much more we accomplished than we ever expected. And she went, wow, that sounds great. Okay. And so we didn't make a big deal. I didn't read it from a list. And what happened was exactly that. And I said, I gave a 30-minute mark, a warning. Okay, we're going to wrap up. Let's distribute. And she'd say, oh my gosh, this went so fast. And it was so much fun. And then she goes, oh my gosh, I don't have a backache today. And I'm like, yay. Because I didn't know or expect that. I knew it would be more fun and we'd get a lot accomplished. But so that to me, in my book, was I feel like my biggest success story.
Yes. Again, you taught her these tools that she can apply to any area of her life. And I love that you made it fun, because I'm all about the fun. So if you make something more fun, then you kind of look forward to doing it, or at least you don't dread doing it. So I love that story. That is awesome.
Oh, good.
Well, let me ask you, this is I feel like you might have touched on this already, but in general, just tell me what you love most about what you do.
Well, of course, seeing someone go from feeling in despair to now living with more of an even happier, in a happier life, of course, who wouldn't? But what I love, that the system I came up with, the gap filling system, my full circle approach, it gives the exact set steps to close those gaps that have been stopping people all along and are still stopping them today. So when we start to see these shifts and these changes, it just brings me so much joy to see, it really is a life-changing experience to some people. Now, if you do this as a hobby and you love organizing, this part may not, you may not resonate with this part, but I bet you can empathize because, we know there are people who are living very stuck, and it's to do with lack of forward motion and trying to just, again, on their own, try to figure it out. And if I just give it one more try, it might be different this time. And if it's been this way, and it's always been this way, and I'm in the middle of writing a book right now with a co-author, which addresses these things. And these are some of the questions. We have a quiz and whatever. And if have you been living this way forever? Did it start with a life-changing experience where you had your first child, and then, or you inherited a house load of stuff from a parent passing? When these things have happened, it's gone on for a long time, and we need outside help at that point. So I hope I've stayed somewhat on topic there. But
you're talking about what you love,
yeah,
about what you do, and so
yes.
It sounds like it's helping people through all kinds of situations, because the clutter accumulated for a reason. If people aren't natural declutterers like me, then it does accumulate, and there could be a myriad of mental or emotional or physical issues behind it. So you're helping people move through so much stuff, not just the physical stuff, but mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual stuff. So, I mean, it's such a valuable service that you're providing. And I'm so excited that I get to share it and share you with people. Because I think a lot of people are going to resonate with it and go, oh yeah, I do have all these feelings behind all the little crap.
Yes, yes.
So there's so much that you can do to help them on so many levels.
One quick thing.
Mm-hmm.
If talking about despair has touched a chord in you, please don't leave that unaddressed, okay? I would love to hear from you. We can talk. If it's not me you contact, please contact somebody. Okay, because you're not alone, and there is so much recovery out there. And I'm a witness to that, where one person can make a difference in your life in just a moment of time. And that's how someone walking on a street saved my life back when I was in my 20s. So please reach out to someone or to me. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica. So tell me, where can people find you to learn more about your services?
Okay, the easiest place is head to my website, jessicahritzmorrick.com. But remember, Ritz has a silent H. Check the notes the way Tana has spelled it, jessicahritzmorrick.com. There is a little button down there at the bottom where you can book my free gift to you, a 15-minute consult with me, and we can chat about where you are and what your future goals are as far as organizing or feeling stuck. You can go there and book that session with me. It takes you right to my calendar.
Yes, all the links will be in the description below. So, and if you're even curious about this at all, just book your free 15-minute session with Jessica. It's easy, it's free, she's there for you. So it's my pleasure to have you. And thank you so much for being here and sharing what you do. We've learned so much about the amazing services you provide. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Tana. I've enjoyed our chat.
And thank you so much for joining us today. I'll be back with more inspiring interviews with amazing women. So remember to subscribe here on YouTube. And if you'd like to join the community and get a free gift, jump over to my website, tannamarshall.com, and sign up to be notified about upcoming events and programs. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.